All right, yo. So this is the overall breakdown for the profit from the feared. And the results are kind of skewed because I got pretty lucky with a couple items. However, I also did some calculations without these items factored in. So overall, kind of expected the feared is usually really profitable. It's even more so at the start of the league, but with current prices of some uniques, um, the actual strategy is very, very profitable. So first off, it cost me around 5.9 div per set feared on average, and it was a total of 30 sets that I farmed. Um, and overall, this cost me 178 div. I rolled these imitations to be at least 74 percent item quantity. I think you might be able to squeeze out an extra crescent splinter if you rolled these a bit higher quant, but I just didn't see the point. And there are a couple mods that my build just doesn't want to run, like less recovery and stuff. So I just decided not to opt for those and just to whatever I hit above 74%, I just rolled with. Um, I'm pretty certain it doesn't affect quantity of the unique item drops, but I could be wrong there. What I do know is that it does affect crescent drops, but there are like certain breakpoints you have to hit for quantity in order to get an extra splinter. Okay, so during my farming process, I listed items and stuff, and I tracked kind of what sold. Overall, it was a lot of Bottle Face and a couple Dying Suns, a couple Nebuluses, and a couple Garbs. Garbs tend to always fluctuate around one div. I don't think you're gonna get more for that, even if you get like a decent implicit. Some items like Indigons, if they're really well rolled, will sell for a decent bit. Bottled Faiths have a very high variance in terms of value because of their rolls. Um, but I want to say there's like a minimum for Bottled Faiths set at around like 2 div if it's like awful rolls, like min everything. And it can go anywhere up to like 7 div if you get like perfect rolls. Nebuluses, you want to look out for implicits. Some of them are really good, like spells have chance to deal double damage or just double damage. Global crit multi is really good usually. But yeah, just like generally like good damage mods will be pretty valuable on Nebulous. I didn't get any crazy ones, but I did get a couple that sold for around a div. Um, and a couple that are worth a div as well. Skin and oils, you want to look up the socket colors, and some of these are worth a lot, like 2.7, 3 div, and some of them are just not worth anything at all. As far as Watcher's Eyes goes, I did ID a all the 2 mod Watcher's Eyes. I got, I want to say, like 3 really useless ones, and 2 that were okay. This one I lost currency on, however, I did find a Purity of Elements Chaos Res one, which I sold for 18 divines. Out of 5, I'd expect you to at least find like one decent one, but who knows? Now, the item of note here are the 2 synth helmets that I found. So the first helmet I found was a non-curse auras, but it also had a 94% mana reservation of socketed gems. And this combination is usually used alongside maximum power charges to create mirror hubris circuits. Obviously, the base of this item was like a fencer helmet or something, so it was really like bad base. It was usable for like aura bots and stuff, but at the end of the day, like I listed it for I want to say like 300 divines to start with, and I slowly lowered it. Um, Finally got a sale, like having it listed for just a little under like a day at 120, and someone finally whispered, so I was pretty okay with the price. Then I dropped another Synth again on armor evasion base, and this one was just the non-cursors alone. So I just set it at one of the lower prices for these helmets and just called it a day. Obviously, these types of drops are pretty rare, but if you're doing like 30 plus imitations, I'd expect you to find like one item that has a decent like synth implicit that you could sell for a decent chunk of currency. Obviously, there's a lot of variance to this, so it's hard to say. Again, I did calculations in this, so let's actually look at the calculations. In total, we got 32.9 Maven's Writs. This means it has a drop rate of 1.1 ish per invitation, which means you're always going to get full writ and then probably one splinter. They are going for 2.8 div currently. In bulk, you might be able to get 2.9, if not 3, if you have like a bunch. And it's good value. Now, I think the biggest value item are unID'd Watcher's Eyes. They're item level 87. They go for around 10 div in bulk. I've seen some people sell them for 11 div in bulk. Here's the problem. I am kind of a a gambler when it comes to Watcher's Eyes, and I love IDing these, so I think I'm gonna ID these. Um, and so I had to do a little bit of calculation for myself. But same thing goes for Sublime Visions. There's like two or three good Sublime Visions you can ID. The rest are complete garbage. Like you lose 20 div by IDing it if it lands on something bad. But if it lands on something good, you just make 180 div. Now, the drop rate of these are pretty similar to what people have found in the past. So the Watcher's Eyes are extremely accurate by what I've seen. People say 30 to 45% drop rate, give or take. Um, I landed kind of on the lower band, but that's fine. And then Sublime Visions are around a 4% drop rate. And again, kind of landed low, but that I did 30. You get one in every 25. Kind of makes sense. I don't believe you can drop these from the Feared Invitation itself, so yeah. Now, Fragments, Emptiness, the Uber Elder Fragments. You get a decent number of these from the Feared Invitations, and they account for just a little bit of extra currency. You get some Scarabs and Fossils and currency drops from the Chayula run. Obviously, one Blessing of Chayula is, I want to say it's kind of unlucky, but I could be wrong. I didn't actually look at the drop rates. Orbs of Conflict and Dominance are something you're just going to get from the some of the bosses at Uber, as well as the Feared. And you'll also get some Awakened Gems. I didn't get any good ones. You get a lot of like Elder Guardian, Shaper Guardian maps drop from like the bosses or from the Cortex or from Chayula. And I want to quickly mention, I know this is kind of in the middle of it, but I did run all of these bosses at Uber difficulty, just to ensure that I could get all of the drops. I got 21 Feared Invitations out of 30, so I did not sustain. I got around 7 invitations every 10 I ran, so you can't self-sustain them, but Feared are so cheap that it doesn't really matter. I got a lot of drops from Chayula in terms of maps. I got around like a div worth, a little over a div. And there are some like unsold uniques and rares that I still need to list and sell. I think the overall value of these is 45, and this is lowballing it. So let's see. I have a quiver that has like percent strength and flat strength, so that one is probably gonna sell, I'd say around 30. But then like a lot of like uniques that I have listed, these are probably all worth around like 1 div in terms of rolls. Some of them a little less, and then a bunch of garbs and stuff. So. And then Watcher's Eyes, some other synth implicits and whatnot. But yeah, just a quick calculation. I want to say everything's probably going to sell for around 45 div. Which brings our total to 522.1 divines, which, you know, is quite a lot. That means I made 344 div in profit. And putting our profit per invitation at 11.5-ish, I can run around 4 invitations an hour. Around 15 minutes per invitation, which makes our profit per hour with my data 45.88 divs per an hour. Now that number seems absurdly high, and I feel as though the synth items may have contributed to that. Okay, so I took out the synth items, rather the synth helms, and I ended up with around 22 div per an hour, or 5.6 div per an invitation, which looked a lot more correct. But then I was like, okay, I'm a gambler. What if I just didn't get lucky at all, and I just un-ID'd all my jewels, and that brought me to around 1.6 div per an invitation, or 6.5 div per an hour. Now, this also includes the unsold items, so technically, I would only make around 4 div of profit if I don't count the unsold items. But at that point, you're just taking out items that are like quite literally worth something, so it's kind of pointless to engage in that type of conjecture. I think that it is a decent figure to go off of if you're really a gambler. Like you're probably making 7 div an hour, but if you hit a good Watcher's Eye, you're gonna be far in the green. If you decide to not ID your Watcher's Eyes or your Sublime Visions and you just sell them as is, you're probably gonna make somewhere close to 5.6 div an invitation. I'm hesitant to put in a profit per an hour as always. This is just my data and my build and how I run these. And so I wouldn't take these as like a pure number. But yeah. So I had around you know, like 9, 10 div, and after selling like the synth items, I shot back up to 216, which is kind of nice. And I'm thinking, you know what? If I sell the rest of my build and if I like put everything up and whatnot, I'm probably going to be able to afford like a new build, and like that's kind of what I'm gunning for. So, you know, we might as well ID these. Now, the Sublime Vision needs to hit Purity of Fire or Hatred, I think. I'm not sure there's any other good ones, so. Okay, Malevolence is pretty bad from my understanding of it. Yeah, we lost around 17 div from that, which is unlucky. Purity of Elements is Fizz taken as Lightning, and Clarity, uh, Clarity Mana Recovery. This is probably gonna be, oh, I don't know. This is not so good. So I guess we're just gonna toss this over. Malevolence, Life Recovery, Purity of Elements. So, man, these are like these are kind of hardcore watcher's eyes. This one might be okay, but it's nothing to really be too excited over. It might sell for a couple div. Still a currency loss. Hatred, Flat Cold, or Percent Cold, which isn't even that good actually. Flash Charge Precision, Vitality, Life Recovery Rate. I mean, this is like okay. This might be sellable for something. Fire damage, more purity. God, I've seen Purity of Elements so many times now. This is kind of absurd. So, Fizz, well, Pride. I don't think Anger Pride ever go together. Yeah, this is like sellable, but not that good. Critical Chance, so this is basically Impale Chance is really bad. If you get double Impale, it's much better. Blinded by Precision is pretty useless. Trade Sight is having some issues. So, to put into perspective, right, these 10 Watcher's Eyes are around 100 Divines unID'd. Once they're ID'd, who knows? Maybe we hit a triple hatred and we're off to the bank in these last 5, or maybe we just lost a bunch of currency. This is around 1 div. This is pretty garbage. So this one looks actually quite okay. You have life on hit with vitality, which is 1 div already. And you have cold damage with hatred. So this is okay. This is like probably a couple div. Double precision, but these are both really bad precision mods, which is lovely. I don't even have a good way to price check this now because trade is just really unhappy with me, which is great. This is probably okay. The Consecrated Ground mod is actually not bad at all. Okay, so Fizz Conversion, Purity of Elements. This is pretty bad. This is Lightning Pen with Wrath, CDR, and Purity of Elements. This could be okay. I'm not sure how the CDR is gonna function, but I want to say it's decent. Malevolence and D-Term might actually be okay here. But yeah, we even without checking the rest, I am fairly certain that we probably lost like 80-ish div worth of currency just by IDing those. So if that's any like, you know, indication of how IDing Watcher's Eyes are, you need way more than 10 to, I think, actually make a profit. Obviously there are ways you can like reroll mods on them and whatnot as like a gamble too, with beasts, but for the most part, it's just keep them on ID and just sell them as is. I decided to do this just for fun. But yeah, hope this video was a little bit fun, informational, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.